Hey friends, how are ya?
Welcome. Happy Friday from the polar
Hello.
vortex of Oklahoma.
Exactly. We are like scattered across our little state right now, and we're gonna charge right ahead and still record. Why not?
I know we are talking about literally our favorite thing outside our children, probably. We're talking Impact Uprising today. I am beyond stoked.
Seriously, if you've heard us in the intro tease this, it's been there since the beginning, but the story of what does Impact Uprising mean, it's got a story to it, honestly, because it keeps growing and expanding, but like the heart of it is very much the same for years. And it's been on our heart for a long time. So I'm so excited for this conversation today. And I hope that it's one that you can feel that you can apply to whatever space you find yourself in, whether you're inside a nonprofit or if you're on the for-profit side, or if you just want to figure out how to jump in somewhere, this conversation is totally for you.
And it's a completely dreamy space. And you all have come to know that we love to dream. We're creative types. And it's not enough to just dream. We have to actually make it actionable. We still have to have goals and strategies, that we're helping work toward accomplishing those dreams. But I do think that, if you're getting comfortable right now and you have your iced coffee or whatever your beverage of choice is at this kitchen table, um, we really want to invite you to kind of open your mind today because we are going to let you inside our heads, which is a very scary thing for a lot of people. Maybe not in John's head, but definitely in mine. And we want you to know where this dream came from and what precipitated it. So, John, I think you should start because I think you are the one that is always dreaming all the time and you were the first one that come up with this concept.
Okay. So let's backtrack a few years. And Becky and I were working alongside each other. You know our story, or I hope you've heard some of our story. We've been together as friends for 15 plus years. Becky was my boss for the first half of my career. And then we kind of parted ways where I went annual giving and Becky went major gifts. But we've always kind of had this ongoing side conversation of like, what's going to be next? And I've been an entrepreneur at heart for a really long time, probably, I guess, since I was a kid and wanted to buy a gumball machine to put at the malls. Thanks, parents, for not letting me actually do that. But, it's carried through that I knew that our next step, we really wanted to impact more people. We loved, like, literally love. I can go back and just think through families and people's stories that I feel like we were able to really play a important role in for their family through philanthropy and connecting donors to important causes. And like it makes the hair on my arm stand up just thinking about some of the incredible people we've gotten to meet in our career inside of nonprofits. But as we thought about like what's next, Becky and I started having these conversations on the side, and I said, Becky, how would it be if it's very cool we get to be part of hundreds, thousands of people's stories right now. What would happen if we could really share some of the things that we're learning and take it to millions of people, like getting to share the things that have been put on our hearts and the tools and the resources and just amplify that and impact millions of people's lives. And I remember that conversation distinctly one day because I think Becky was like, that's really nice, John. But I was just
Head
planning a little.
pat.
Yeah, I was a head pat. But it really did start to take shape. I mean, as we started to put together what our quote business plan would be for We Are for Good, because we knew that we wanted to create a place that would serve and show up and just provide inspiration and accessibility for nonprofits. And that's kind of what you're seeing today. It's at least step one of what it is today.
And what a gift it is. And I never want to lose sight of the gift it is to have a friend and a colleague like John who would plant those seeds with me and encourage me to be such a risk taker because, I think I'm fearless, but I don't know that I'm risky. So I just really appreciate, that there are people in this lifetime that can just help us continue having these conversations to sharpen us and to get better. And the beauty of being friends with John is that he is never going to stop dreaming. And he and I and Julie can put our heads together and put together an actionable plan that we hope shows innovation, that we hope is connecting to empathy, that is connecting to growth mindset. So thank you, John, for being my dear friend who is helping me dream because I tend to think of myself as being a very fearless individual, but I do not think of myself as a risk taker. necessarily in business. And so I think we're all just kind of had moments where we're sitting around either our nonprofits or whatever groups we're hanging with, our for profits, Sunday school classes, whatever it is. And we've talked about, why are we doing things this way? What if we did X? How could we shift the lens a little bit? And John is my person that helps me do that. I wish everybody had a John in their life. And so what I began to see over time was that all these conversations we were having about improving our little corner of the world was really about bringing big ideas into a little pond. And I remember the day that we talked about, what if we made the pond bigger? Yes, we're impacting thousands of people in our nonprofit right now, but what could we do if we can inspire millions? And what if we could take these ideas and set them on fire in crazy good marketing, incredible storytelling and graphics, and with a common thread of kindness and empathy? For people who believe in philanthropy and believe that this is the space where all of that goodness can come together, we just felt called to do that.
And Becky, you have the uncanny ability to put crazy big dreams into compelling story. And just hearing you, I'm like, oh my gosh, you sold me on my own idea in talking about it in that way. But I think, it's interesting to follow the journey of at least the dream of how it continues to evolve and this vision that has really stayed the same regardless. Because when we launched, and really when we, jumped to do this, we created this space for fundraisers or for people in a nonprofit. And that's who we thought we were going to inspire. And then they could go and carry out their own impact, whatever slice of the world that they are feeling called to serve. And that was super inspiring to us. But I'll tell you, since launching and the gift of getting to have this podcast and have conversations with such big thinkers that just operate at a completely different level in terms of looking at the macro and looking at the worldwide global impact of everything. I think of conversations with Susan McPherson, with Gabe Cooper, the upcoming ones that are going to be with Dr. Angela Jackson, with
Mike
Nathan
Beckham.
Chanel, Mike Beckham. These are some folks that, as you see those names come across, take the time to listen, because they have expanded my worldview in a wholly holistic, different way. And, where we thought we were jumping to serve fundraisers, we want to see, we want to make a dent in this generosity crisis, that Gabe Cooper described on Monday's episode, is that fewer and fewer people at just the average base level are giving right now. It's being shrouded because there's these huge gifts from billionaires. Thank you for those gifts. Thank you for your giving pledge. Thank you for all of this investment. But people are missing out on the act of giving. And we know from being on the front lines of smaller nonprofits that the act of giving is just as transformational and just as meaningful to the giver as the person who is receiving that tangible impact. And so our vision has truly quadrupled, magnified in scope, because we believe that by activating this sector, by activating the people that feel called to this and want to lead other people into more generosity, that there is going to be so much more of a ripple of happening. Because when more people give, we know that leads to greater happiness. It brings more empathy. It expands your worldview. It connects you more with the human in your community. Like, this is a place that we want to see meaningful change. And so that's, to us, what an Impact Uprising is all about. And it's much bigger and much grander than anything we ever felt called for. But at the same time, I was talking to my wife when we were walking before the giant snowstorm came about this idea, is that even though it seems so huge to impact a generation or a worldwide global movement, it doesn't seem that crazy, because it's doable. Like, it's just getting people to realize the power of philanthropy, and I think that everybody listening has the power to connect somebody else to a story of how philanthropy has changed you or changed a person. And that's what we want to perpetuate here.
Yeah,
So
I love every bit of that. And in its simplest form, we just feel like now is the time for nonprofits. I mean, we make up 10% of the workforce in the United States alone. We are literally 10%. We are a huge body of the workforce. And we are saying, no longer are we going to be playing it safe. We don't want to play it safe anymore. We don't want to have, in the box thinking. It is time for us to break out, for us to be paid equitably, for us to join the ranks of incredibly progressive entrepreneurs who are dreaming and scaling at a massive scale to solve the world's problems. We need to be a major player in this. And that is what Impact Uprising is. And because it has that common thread of philanthropy, of generosity, of extending your hand to somebody and in making life better, it comes from such a pure place. And we all know how good that feels. And I have to tell a quick story of a conversation I had this week because it just blew my mind. And I was visiting with a businessman in our community, and he was talking about his career. And he's had an incredibly successful business career. And he tells me about this one day in early December where he had a friend that invited him to like a 7:30 a.m. breakfast business meeting. And there, he said he didn't want to go. It was cold. It was early in the morning originally. And he said he sat down, and this nonprofit executive director stepped out and kind of just took the mic among all these men. And she stands up there and tells the story of her mission. And he said, I don't know what it was about what she said that resonated with me because I had no personal experience in her mission at all. But something was calling to me that I needed to know more and lean in. He said, so I called her. And she did the smart thing as a savvy executive director would do. And she said, well, why don't you come out? I'm going to tour you. I want you to see and touch this part of our mission and to see it in action. And he says, and I go out there and I just feel this shift. And he says, and I decide, and she asked me, what would you like to do? And I said, I think I want to volunteer. And he said, no, I need to tell you, I am a 70-year-old man who I've just sold my business. I'm retiring. I have never volunteered in 70 years. And he says, but then I start volunteering, and this whole world is opened up to me. And I feel just such an awakening within me that I had no idea how good this felt. And I want to read you a quote that he gave to me. And he said, I have been in business and I have never volunteered or served on a nonprofit. And it turns out I have no idea what I was missing. And it didn't take long for this to develop into a passion. And it ends up that I got so much more out of this than what I was giving. And I discovered this later in life, and I'm making up for it for all this lost time. And so if you think about what giving, what philanthropy, what serving, what helping someone can do to expand your worldview into selfishly, and I say go with this selfish feeling, what it does for you personally, that's something we all want to pour into. And I am so going to recruit that man into this Impact Uprising. He is an integral part of it, and so are you.
Now, I love that story. Just with the power of being connected to causes and how much meaning and purpose it gives to our lives. Just so, so cool. I think too of, a conversation that we got to have back in episode 1 with Sarah Cunningham. She's the founder and CEO of Free Mom Hugs and just an incredible human being. Go back and listen to it. I don't remember which episode that was, but she said something that stuck with me, and I put it on my favorite quotes Google Drive, which if you don't have that, start that and just start dropping your favorite quotes. It'll change your life. But she said, what is your burden? What are you accountable to? That's the cause you're called to serve. Each of us have something that has been connected to us for some reason. Sometimes it's like the hand that we've been dealt in life or our family's life, something horrible or traumatic that's happened. Or sometimes you just, for some reason, feel called or connected to a certain part of the world or a problem or an issue. Like, listen to that is, I think, one of the things, because we want this place for you to feel inspired that no matter what seat of the house you're in, whether it's your first time sitting in a nonprofit job, maybe you spent a career and you're now sitting in the executive director role, or maybe you're on the business side that could activate an entire corporation to move and shift differently. Everybody needs to listen to those callings that are put on their heart, because we need everybody to respond. The world needs that. You hear us talk a lot about abundance, and we are here for that conversation because we believe there is enough. When people actually dig in and activate it on the pieces of their heart that they feel called and passionate about, there is enough. There is enough to accomplish those missions and causes that are so desperate across our world. And so that's one of the takeaways I hope from today. No matter where you are, I hope you feel like you can take action and get plugged in, just like this guy did, serving in that volunteer capacity. Love that story. So
Love Sarah Cunningham. She's so wise. And I really think that it begs the question when I think about that quote, if your life is not set up right now to include part of that mission, that can be a change you can make today. If it's an hour of service a week, if it's sharing why you love your nonprofit, your pet nonprofit on your Facebook with all of your friends, and you don't even have to ask them to do anything. It's just, hey, this is a really cool mission. I don't know if you know that it exists, but here's why it's important to me. What an easy way for someone to engage with you later on and say, I saw that post. Tell me about that. That nonprofit is going to be so buoyed by the fact that you have cast their mission with your wide net into your pond, wherever your tiny pond is. And I'm sorry, I keep using the pond references. I don't know where this was coming from, but it's really
everything
about,
frozen in Oklahoma. So
yeah, they're totally frozen at this point. We're ice skating on them. But it's really about, like, if we can take all of these little ponds and put them together, the ripples that we can create, they just go on and on and on. And the other thing that this man said that I'm sorry, I can't get him out of my head, but he said, I just realized when I began this journey with this nonprofit, it's where this story would begin. But for me, I don't see there ever having an ending, ever. And that is the kind of ideal I want you who's listening right now to think. How can we create moments? How can we create stories? How can we create programs, interactions that lead people to think that I don't want this mission to ever stop unless it's eradicated, in a lot of our issues. And that could maybe be the goal. So we are committed to dreaming at an insane level and automating those really, really big dreams. And we have something super big that's coming down the pike on Monday. I'm teeing you up, John.
well, if you follow us on social media, we've been teasing this. And if you are part of our community that gets our weekly email, we've got a huge announcement in store for Monday, because, we have been committed to showing up for free in so many ways. And we want to serve you as our listener. We want to serve this growing community that, has all sorts of walks of life and different roles within nonprofits. But we're going to take that, we're going to like up the ante even further, because what we're rolling out on Monday is a safe place for deeper conversations. And all are welcome. It's completely free. We'll share all the details soon, but we want to cultivate a place, because while we love this podcast, it's a very one way or maybe two way dialogue. And that's great for starting conversations. It's just not great for continuing conversations, right? And so, this next step of just how this vision is going to be unfolded is creating that safe place, uplifting place where you can come and you can find friends, you can find colleagues to champion alongside, because we say this all the time, but we mean it, we believe it. Community is everything. And so, we wanted to create a place for the community to live, to thrive, to grow together, and just kind of fun too, because we like to have fun and not take ourselves completely too seriously. Although if you listen to this conversation, it sounds like we're very serious, and we are, but at the same time, we love making this our life work, have purpose, and have a ton of fun doing it along the way. And so that is phase one that's coming on Monday, or maybe if you're listening to this later in the week or next month, it's already live. So check out the show notes.
Yeah, and I just want to impress on people. I want to impress
You're
upon
impressing
people.
us.
I've always tried to impress people. That we want to be a listening company. We talk a lot. I understand the irony of the fact that like the most loquacious person in your world, me, saying that we need to be listeners, but it's like we don't want these to be John and Becky and Julie's dreams. We want to listen to the community. We want to know what your pain points are, and the only way to do that is to foster that two-way communication. So we want to know what your pain points are. We want to know what's holding you up. We want to know what you need more training on. We want to know what experts you want to hear from. And our job is really just to curate that for you and create something that will help to sharpen you and sharpen your mission.
So this table, there's unlimited seats. Like we want you to come and gather with us and find community through We Are for Good. And that's a place that we are committed to continuing to show up in bigger and bigger ways. But I also want to lift the curtain on things that are coming. You know, we love to spill the beans on podcasts too of what's happening. And as we flesh through our mission to create an impact uprising, what's on the horizon is that we also want to create a place where you know you can come and get the best training and the best community to do so, because it's best to learn in a group, right? And it's best to have be surrounded by like-minded people who can champion you on with the best practices and the best innovations happening in our industry. And so we are building that in the background right now. And we don't have a date to announce to you today, but it's coming. It's coming soon before summer. So can't wait for that next step.
And if you are someone who is ready for professional development to be disrupted on every single level, stay tuned. I really tried to make that dramatic, almost like I was putting a period in between each one of those words, but it really is going to be radically groundbreaking in terms of we want it to be accessible to everyone. We want it to be something that can provide a roadmap for you with takeaways. It's going to be off the chain. Even calling it the best is, I feel like, watering it down because it's going to be next level.
So stay tuned on that. But by virtue of being part of this community, you're going to be the first to know when that comes live. But I'll tell you, I hope you've heard us say this. We don't view ourselves as the only experts in this space. In fact, if this podcast has taught us anything, is that we know so little. And so this next step is more about locking arms with so many other incredible people that are also really good humans that know how to help you and they can help you take your next step. And so we're really excited to unpack a lot of those wonderful friendships and relationships that are going to make this dream come into a reality.
We're so glad you're here. Thank you for listening to our little dreamy dream about our Impact Uprising baby that we are going to nurture. It's going to be an amazing thing. Just by tuning in, we count you among our friends that are sitting at this kitchen table, and we're all just here to lift you up and to make the world a better place. So thanks.
Yeah, we're so honored you're here. Thank you.
Have a good week, everybody.